What is going on, everybody? Before we get started with today's video, check out this event that we got going on in Phas this weekly. It's the happy 5th year anniversary of Phasmophobia, y'all. We got a bunch of party poppers, bunch of balloons. I'm really liking the confetti cannons. The balloons move, if you run into them. Everybody hop on Phasmophobia this week to celebrate the 5th year anniversary. There's a bunch of Twitch drops going on right now. I'll be streaming this game Wednesday, probably around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern time. So come on, drop in, get some drops, celebrate the event, and let's get into the video, y'all. What is going on, everybody? It's Jester back for another Phasmophobia video. Today, we will be talking about No Evidence Ghost Guide. I will be making a Ghost Guide video right here for you today so that you can get an insane amount of money this week and, weeks after for Phasmophobia. To make the most amount of money on Phasmophobia, you got to do no evidence runs. And I know a whole lot of people don't do no evidence runs because they're hard. A lot of people don't know how the ghosts act during no evidence runs. So today I'm going to be showing you the behaviors and whatnot of the ghosts, of each ghost. That way, when you do a no evidence, no sanity run to get the most amount of money, you'll know what to do when you see these ghosts in person. So let's get into it. So for starters, let's talk about custom settings that you would want to have. So this is my no evidence, no sanity custom mode. This is what I usually play on when I go for no evidence. Starting sanity 0, no pill restoration, max drain, sanity drain speed, sprinting on. I don't affect any player speed or ghost speed. Flashlights on, and of course, you gotta lose your consumables if you die. The ghost is 100%. I don't like when the ghost roams that often, in my opinion, because I like the ghost. I like to know that the ghost is in the ghost room when I'm in the ghost room. I would like the ghost to stay near the ghost room. So I'm keeping the roaming low. Changing favorite room, I usually have it on none because I don't like when it changes ghost room. But for the Goryo's sake, later on in the video, I'll keep it on low. Because I don't like... Because when you play a no evidence, no sanity ghost room and you're getting hunted right off the bat, you don't want to think that the ghost is in one room, but really it's in another room. So, just for the Goryo's sake, I'll keep the changing favorite room on low. Activity level, we'll keep that on low. Event frequency, I'll sometimes put it on high, sometimes medium, just depends on how I'm feeling. Especially if you have the objective to get to witness a ghost event. I think we'll keep it on high for now. Friendly ghost off. Grace period 0. Hunt duration high. Kills extend hunts. You don't really got to worry about that. Evidence 0. And then under contract, got setup time 0. As far as weather, I usually do fog just because it boosts it just a little teeny bit. I would do heavy rain. I think heavy rain gives you the most, but like I said, it's not that big of an issue. The only reason I don't like heavy rain is just so I can hear the footsteps better if it's further away from me. Door starting open, I have that on high. Number of hiding spaces, I have it on very high. I want to be able to hide in every hiding spot I can possibly have. If you're good at surviving hunts and getting away from the ghost, then maybe in your preference you'll have it on low, or maybe none. So it just depends on what kind of player you are. Me, I like to have every hiding spot available in my arsenal, so I'll have it on very high. And plus, it's only probably like a 0.50 times multiplier if you have it on high versus none. So I like to have it on very high. And then for the sanity monitor and activity monitor, I have both of them off. I have the fuse box on at the start of the match, and I'll have the visible on the map off, and we'll have no cursed possessions. So, if you do this, you'll have roughly around a 9 9.25, anywhere from a 9.25 to a 9.75. This is my no evidence, no sanity custom. So just copy these settings if you want to have the same custom that I do. So for starters, I'm not going to actually go in the map. I'm going to stand in the outside by the door. So when you load into this, what you want to do, if you're playing, I grab all the essentials that I need to figure out what ghost it is. So the first thing I'll grab is a flashlight and 2 smudge sticks and a lighter. And you want to grab a video camera. You want to grab a regular camera. And depending on what objectives you have, sometimes you might have an EMF objective. In this case, we don't have an EMF objective. And you might also have a parabolic objective. But we're going to bring the parabolic anyway. You only need 1 candle, but sometimes I'll take 3 in just in case. And I'll bring the other 2 smudge sticks. You definitely want to bring at least 1 salt. I forgot, because after Chronicles, you can't really take salt pictures anymore, salt videos. You can only really take 1 disturbed salt video now, so you only really need 1 salt now. So take 1 salt, and then I would take another 2 motion sensors, and then take your crucifixes, and in this case, we need the sound recorder. Make sure you put your crucifixes a little further away from the house, just in case you have a ghost that's in the first room right here. And I think that might be it. And then sometimes I'll bring an extra lighter just in case I drop my lighter or I lose it. Alrighty, so for starters, let's talk about the ghosts. So we have 24 ghosts in this game. Now, obviously, if you're playing a evidence custom, you just find the evidence, you narrow down what you have, what you don't have, and you'll figure out what ghost it is. But when you do no evidence, no sanity, and there's just hunts, all you have are hunts to figure out what ghost it is, it could be a little tricky for you to find out what ghost it is. So now I'm going to talk to you about the things I use, and I have footage for mostly every ghost. So for spirit, the only thing, I don't have footage on the spirit because it's really easy to identify a spirit. So a spirit, the only way for you to identify a spirit is while it hunts, do this while it's hunting, by the way. Smudge it while it hunts and start a timer either on your phone or your PC, your console, whatever you're playing on. The second you smudge it, start a timer and wait 90 seconds. And I would try to do this at the end of the hunt as close as you can. I'm not sure exactly how long hunts are, but try to do this at the end of the hunt. So as soon as you smudge the ghost, not when the hunt ends, but when you smudge the ghost, start a timer. If the ghost hunts again within 90 seconds to 3 minutes, then it's a regular ghost. If it takes 3 minutes and after for it to hunt, then it's a spirit. Now, just because it doesn't hunt right away after 3 minutes doesn't mean it's a spirit. You want to do this at least 2 or 3 times. If you smudge it in the middle of a hunt and it takes 3 minutes for it to hunt again, then I would try it at least once or twice more. And if it happens both of those times again, you're most likely dealing with a spirit here. The next ghost we're going to talk about is a Wraith. The only true way to identify a Wraith during a hunt, well, it doesn't even have to be during a hunt. It can happen without a hunt, too. A Wraith cannot step in salt, as you'll see in my video right here. The motion sensors were going off. That means the ghost was actively stepping in the ghost room. And as you can see, the piles of salt were not getting disturbed. So that's telling you that it is a Wraith. because the Wraith is the only one that cannot step in salt. Okay? It just will not walk in the salt whatsoever. The next ghost we're going to talk about is a Phantom. The Phantom has a unique ability where during a hunt, and it has to be during a hunt, by the way, it is less likely to be seen during a hunt. And what I mean by this is, during a hunt, it's normal for the ghost to blink in and out of existence. The Phantom will blink less, so it'll be invisible a lot longer than the rest of the ghosts, as you can see in this footage right here. As you can see, the ghost was not very visible at all. It took a lot long for it to blink back in existence during the hunt, so you know that is a Phantom whatsoever. And also, another way to tell if it's a Phantom or not is, and you can do this without it hunting too, if you take a picture of it while it's doing a ghost event, it'll disappear, but if you go to the book, it'll say you got a ghost photo. And it'll be a 3-star ghost photo too, as you can see right here. There's nothing there. We took a picture of it. It said ghost photo. Even though you can't see it in the picture, that's how you can tell it's a Phantom. The next ghost we got is a Poltergeist. The way you can tell a Poltergeist is Poltergeist will throw and interact with the environment a lot more than any other ghost will. The easiest way to find out if it's a Poltergeist is find a looping spot and put a bunch of objects in said looping spot. And if it's just throwing items left and right, then you're most likely dealing with a Poltergeist. As you can see, I have everything on the table, and it's just all getting thrown around rapidly. And there's nothing on the table left, and it's all over the floor. Also, another way to tell if it's Poltergeist, and it doesn't have to hunt for this to happen, is if you get a bunch of items in one spot, the Poltergeist has a chance to just explode every single item that you put in that spot. And I have 2 clips of this right here. And that right there is the Polter ability twice. And it is a Poltergeist.
I've got some jobs ready for you.
The next ghost we got is a Banshee. There's 2 ways to tell if it is a Banshee. One is if you're playing multiplayer, and the other is if you're playing solo. It's easier to tell if you're playing multiplayer because a Banshee will only target one player that's alive. So when you load into a game and you don't even know it's a Banshee yet, the Banshee will pick one target out of however many players you have. It'll pick one target, and it will only target that person during a hunt. So if you and your friends are playing a no evidence, no sanity ghost custom, then it starts hunting, and you realize that the ghost isn't following you, it sees you, but it's not coming near you, try to walk up to it, and if it's not killing you, that means it's targeting somebody else. That's how you know it's 100% a Banshee. Because any of these other 23 ghosts, they'll target everybody no matter who you are. So, you know it's a Banshee if it only targets one person. And that person has to be in the house while it is hunting, by the way. So, if you know that the target is your friend because you tested it out in a previous hunt, and your friend's not in the house anymore, that means the Banshee has a new target if it's hunting. So you might not know who that is, but you probably want to keep your one friend who was the original target in the house and just have him hide in a random spot in the house. That way it doesn't pick a new target and throw you guys off guard. Another way to figure out a Banshee is through this clip right here. The Banshee is the only ghost in the game that will scream into the parabolic microphone. So, as you've seen in the clip, there was the screams versus the regular parabolic microphone interactions. The Banshee is the only ones that'll do the actual scream. And it sounds like a woman screaming into the parabolic microphone, because that's the Banshee scream. So for the next ghost, we have a Jinn. The Jinn is a pretty easy ghost to identify during a hunt. This is what a Jinn looks like right here. As you can see in the video, the Jinn has a very special ability where it will never turn off the breaker because the Jinn needs the breaker for it to do its ability. The Jinn will not do its ability if the breaker is off. So if you ever start one of these custom matches with the breaker on and the ghost turns the breaker off, you can immediately cross out Jinn if it turns the breaker off. The Jinn will never turn the breaker off. And the cool thing about the Jinn is the Jinn will speed up to you if you're far away. So if you are a great distance, that's why in the clip I was in the garage. And when it saw me, when it turned the corner, it sped up really fast to get towards me, but the closer it got to me, it started to slow down just a little bit. And that's how you could tell that it was a Jinn. The next ghost we're going to talk about is a Mare. The Mare actually is a pretty unique ghost. It is the only ghost that will not turn on lights in the house. Now, for a disclaimer here, the Mare will still turn off the breaker. So, the Mare will turn off the breaker, but it will not interact with... The only interaction with a light switch is turning off a light switch. It will not turn on light switches. And you can tell it's a Mare very easily if you go to turn on a light switch and it immediately turns it off right afterwards. That's the Mare ability, and I have a clip of that right now. As you can see, the Mare instantly turned the light switch off. So that's how you know it's a Mare. The Mare is the only one that will do that. The next ghost we have is a Revenant. The Revenant used to be one of the scariest ghosts in the game back in old Phasmophobia, because it was one of the only ones that ever sped up, and it sped up drastically. So with the Rev, if you're hiding during a hunt, it is very slow when it doesn't spot a player. So if you notice this very slow sounding ghost while you're hiding, it's most likely a Revenant. And we have a clip of what the Revenant sounds like right here. As you can see, when I was hiding, it sounded very slow, but then when it saw me, it sped up really fast. And then when I went back into hiding, it was slow again. So that's how you know it's a Revenant. Shade. There's a couple of ways you can find out a shade. Shades, like it says in the book, the weakness is it will not enter a hunt while there are players nearby. So a shade, if you have, I don't have footage on the shade because you can't really get footage of the shade, but 2 tips about a shade is if you take a candle in the house and you go in the ghost room, say your ghost room is this bedroom right here. If you put a candle in the bedroom and you stay in the bedroom with it, it will not blow that candle out. It is the only ghost in the game that will not interact with a candle while you are in the house with it. And it will also not enter a hunt while you are in the room with it. Because the shade is like the shyest ghost in the game. It doesn't want to hunt. It doesn't really want to interact with anything while you're in vicinity of it. So that's the only ghost in the game that won't do that. So if you are in the map, if you find what the ghost room is, and you're just hanging out in the ghost room, say you're in this front ghost room, just chilling in the closet, and it's not hunting, and it takes minutes and minutes for it to start hunting, and it's just not hunting, then you're most likely dealing with a shade. So I would change spots in the house, and as soon as you change spots and you notice it starts hunting, you're probably dealing with a shade. And then the opposite of the shade, we have a demon, who demons, on the other hand, they love hunts. So the way to tell if it's a demon or not is the best way to tell if it's a demon is if you put a crucifix in the map, and try to put the crucifix a little far away from the ghost room, because the cool thing about the demons are they don't like crucifixes, and the crucifix actually gets a buff when it is a demon. So I would put the crucifix near the ghost room, because if it's a demon, the crucifix's range, whenever you put down a crucifix, you'll see the circle around it. And when it's a demon, the demon has a larger crucifix range. So the crucifix range will increase by 1.5%, or 1.5 times. So if you put the crucifix out of the ghost room in like some odd spot that you wouldn't even think it would use the crucifix in, and it uses it, you're most likely dealing with a demon here. And I have a video of this too. As you can see, we were standing in the ghost room and it used the crucifix in the hallway. So that told me that it was a demon, 100%. Also, another way to tell if it's a demon is the demon takes less time to initiate hunt. I think the hunt counter for regular ghosts is 25 seconds in between hunts. Demons will hunt in 20 seconds. And as you can see right here, we have a clip of that. The next ghost we're going to talk about is a Yurei. Now, the Yureis are a little buggy. They're probably still the most bugged in the game. The Yureis are the only ghosts in the game that will lightly close the door all the way or open a door all the way. And I have a footage of that to show you exactly what I'm talking about right here. As you can see in the video, the Yurei closed the door slightly. Now this is different than regular ghosts, because every ghost in the game can now close the door entirely. But all 23 other ghosts will slam the door fast and hard and open the door fast and hard. But the Yurei actually, when it touches the door, it gently closes it or gently opens it all the way. And also, this is not to be confused with when a ghost does a ghost event and it closes the door or opens the door during a ghost event, because every ghost in the game can do that. So if the ghost if you hear a door close or open and you notice that it's doing a ghost event, disregard it being a Yurei, because every ghost in the game can open or close the door while it's doing a ghost event. So just make sure you know that. The next ghost we're going to be talking about is an Oni. The Oni is the exact opposite of the Phantom that we talked about earlier. Whereas the Phantom, during a hunt, you could barely tell that it's visible. You could barely see that it's visible. The Oni, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It is very visible, and it blinks. It doesn't really blink that often. I got footage of that right here. Then, as you can see, this is the opposite of a Phantom, because you can tell by how it is staying visible for a very, very long time. So this right here is a clear-cut reason why this is a Oni. As you can see during that video, the ghost was very visible during that hunt, and that's how you could tell that it was an Oni. Also, there's a specific ghost event in the game. It's called the Mist Air Bubble ghost event. I like to call it the non-Oni ghost event, because as soon as I see it, I say, oh, it's not an Oni, and I have a video of that right here. So if you see this specific ghost event where it's in the mist ball form, you can 100% rule out that it's not an Oni. The next ghost we're going to be talking about is a Yokai. The Yokais are a little bit different than the rest of the ghosts. The Yokais will actually... So there's a mechanic in the game, especially if you're holding your flashlight, where if the ghost gets within range of you, we call this the detection range. When it's in the detection range and you're holding like your flashlight or something out, your flashlight will start to blink. And when you're in the detection range and your flashlight starts to blink, a normal ghost will come towards your location to, try to kill you. A yokai, though, a yokai is unique because the yokai will not be able to detect you at first when you're in the detection zone. It can only detect you and your equipment if it's really close to you or it sees you through line of sight. And I have a clip of that right here. As you can see, my flashlight was blinking, but the ghost didn't have line of sight on me, so it wasn't able to tell where I was. And that countertop in Tanglewood is a good looping spot for a yokai, because if you're behind the countertop island and you have your flashlight on, the ghost will not find you if it's a yokai. Any other ghost, any of the other 23 ghosts, the ghost would be looping you around the island because it knows you're behind the island and it's trying to get to you. But a yokai will not detect you behind the island. The next ghost we're going to be talking about is a Hantu. The Hantus are unique because they're the only ghosts in the map that are affected by temperature. So the lower the temperature of the ghost room, the faster the Hantu will be. So if you start a no evidence run or a game with the breaker on, then the house will be a lot warmer than if you were to start a contract with the breaker off. So if you were to start a no evidence game with the breaker on, the Hantu will be fast in its ghost room, but it won't be fast when it leaves the ghost room. Whereas if you load up a map where the breaker is off initially, then the ghost will probably be fast throughout the entire house until you turn the breaker on and you start turning some lights on to warm the house up. And I have a clip of the Hantu and what it looks like in game right here. As you can see, the Hantu was fast when it first spawned in because it spawns in its ghost room, and the ghost room is the coldest room in the house. That's where the ghost is. But when it leaves the ghost room into the regular temperature rooms, it's much slower, and you could tell through that clip. Also, the Hantu has another unique ability, and I didn't get footage on it, but if you were to watch a hunt with the breaker off, then you can see cold breath. You can see you can see the ghost's breath during the hunt, and when you see that breath, you automatically know it's a Hantu, because the Hantu is the only ghost in the game that can do that. The next ghost is a Goryo. I don't have footage on the Goryo because the Goryo is pretty lame, honestly. The only way you can really know that it is a Goryo is if you're playing a contract where you have the changing favorite room on low or medium or high, and the ghost changes ghost room in the middle of the contract. So if it starts in one room and during the contract it starts spawning in another room and it keeps spawning in another room, then you know that it's not a Goryo, because a Goryo will never change ghost rooms. That's why when you play a contract where you don't have it changing favor ghost room, it's a little hard to tell that the ghost is going to be a Goryo. You would have to rule out every single ghost. You would have to rule out every single other ghost and get down to the last one to be a Goryo in order for you to know that it's a Goryo. But if you play with the changing favor ghost room low or medium or high, and it changes ghost room in the middle of the contract, then you can easily rule out Goryo, because it won't be a Goryo. The next ghost is a Myling. The Myling is unique because during a hunt, if you drop your flashlight and it goes into the detection range, well, first of all, it won't detect you, because this is why I said you drop your flashlight. So if you drop your flashlight on the floor and it still blinks, when it starts blinking, you'll hear the footsteps. If your flashlight is not blinking, you won't hear footsteps. You won't hear the Myling near you. A Myling is very quiet. So when you get a Myling, like I said before, if your it will only be able to be heard when it's in detection range and your flashlight is blinking on the ground. And I actually have a clip of that right here. The Onryo is the only ghost in the game that is affected, well, besides a shade, they're affected by candles. The Onryo, this is why you take 3 candles in, or you can just take 1 candle in with you. If you light a candle near the Onryo and it blows a candle out 3 times, it will start a hunt, no matter, regardless what sanity you're at. So if an Onryo blows out 3 candles or 3 flames, it will start a hunt. And when it blows out that 3rd one and it starts a hunt, then you know it's an Onryo. And we have a clip of that right here. As you can see, it blew out all 3 at the same time, and after it blew out all 3, it started a hunt, so we know it was an Onryo. The twins are an easy ghost to remember because the twins, think of it, it's not technically 2 ghosts, but it kinda is. In regards to, if you listen to one hunt, the ghost might sound a little bit slower than a normal ghost. But then, the next hunt, it might be fast. If it's slow in one hunt, and then fast in the next hunt, you know you're dealing with the twins here. And plus, they have a distinct slowness and a distinct fastness. Out of all the speedy ghosts that are in here, the more you get twins, you can start to realize that if you get the slower twin, you'll start to realize that, oh, I'm dealing with the twins here because this is slower than a normal ghost. Or if you get the fast one, you'll say, hey, this sounds a little bit faster than a normal ghost does. And we actually have a clip of those 2 ghosts right here. The next ghost, the Raiju, is honestly a pain in my ass. It's the ghost that kills me the most in situations. It's my best friend, honestly. The Raiju is a unique ghost because the Raijus are kinda like Hantus. They'll speed up under a certain circumstance, and that circumstance is equipment. Raijus will speed up if they detect equipment. So they have a much larger range of the detection mode. They have a larger range of detection. And when they're in that detection range, like when your flashlight starts blinking and all that, they're going to get faster. So electronics are what make the Raiju faster. And you can see that right here. As you could tell in that clip, the Raiju, when it came upstairs, I believe it was, the ghost room was in the basement. When it was in the basement, you could hear it slow, but when it came up the steps and into the kitchen, it started to get fast because I had my electronics on. And there was a point where it went towards the living room and the front room, and it got slower because I didn't have any equipment on in that area. And when it went back to the basement, it was regular speed again. So it was only fast when it came like in towards the kitchen area where my electronics were. The next ghost is Obake. Obake, to me, is one of the coolest ghosts in the game. They're the only ghost that will change ghost model. So, in order for you to find out if it's an Obake or not in no evidence, during a hunt, if you're in a looping spot, if you watch the ghost and it changes ghost model, then you know it's an Obake. And what I mean by ghost model is in this clip right here. Obake has a chance to shapeshift every, I believe, 6 blinks. I don't know how many seconds. It's every couple of seconds. It has a chance to shapeshift every couple of seconds. And as you can see during that clip, it shapeshifted like 3 times. So we know that's an Obake. The Mimic is a special ghost. The Mimic has a chance to be any one of these ghosts during any time during the game. And I believe from when it got introduced, it will pick a ghost that it can mimic. And when it mimics this ghost, it can mimic abilities and all. And it will stay mimicking that ghost for, I believe, a minute or 2. I'm not exactly sure how the duration works. But it'll mimic a certain ghost for a minute or 2. So the easiest way to find out if the ghost is a mimic, this is why we bring a video camera. Because if you go to the ghost room and you see ghost orbs like right here, now you know that the ghost is a mimic, because the mimic, is the only ghost in the game that will give you evidence during a no evidence run. And that evidence is ghost orbs. So you will never see ghost orbs on a no evidence run unless it's a mimic. The Moroi is perhaps the strongest and fastest ghost in the game. The special thing about the Moroi is not only is it fast when you're at 0% sanity, but it can also speed up through line of sight too, the more it sees you. So if you are looping the ghost around the island in Tanglewood and you're standing up and it's seeing you the whole time, not only is it already fast from you having 0% sanity, but it's also speeding up the longer it's looking at you. So not only is it one of the fastest ghosts in the game, but it's also speeding up on top of that. The way to identify a Moroi, there's a couple of ways actually. So the Moroi is basically based off sanity. So the Moroi can start hunting, if you were playing with sanity, the Moroi can start hunting at 50% sanity. But since we're doing no evidence runs, we start at 0% sanity. So the Moroi is fastest when you're at 0% sanity. So when you're doing your no evidence runs, in order to distinguish if it's a Moroi or another fast ghost, is with the smudge sticks. So when you smudge a Moroi, the smudge stick lasts about 1.5 times longer than any other ghost in the game. So when you stun a ghost in this game, the ghost is stunned for 5 seconds, so it will ignore you for 5 seconds. But a Moroi is stunned for about 1.5 times longer. So the Moroi will be stunned for 7.5 seconds, as you can see in this clip right here. Also, if you play with pills, with sanity pills restoration, with any, honestly, if you bring pills or sanity into the map and you wait for it to hunt, like I said earlier, the Moroi is at its fastest when you're at 0% sanity. So if you bring your pills or whatever into the map with you, and when you're in your hiding spot, when you're listening to the Moroi speed around the map, if you take your sanity and it goes back, I don't know what your sanity restoration would be at, but say, for instance, your pill sanity restoration is at 100. So you take a pill and you go from 0 to 100. You will immediately hear the ghost, the Moroi, get slow. So it's going to go from like one of the fastest ghosts in the game to really slow as soon as you take the pills. So that's how you know it's a Moroi, if you play with sanity restoration on. The Deogen is probably everybody's favorite ghost in this game. The Deogen is the only ghost you cannot hide from. So, if you are in a hiding spot and a Deogen is your ghost, you're most likely going to die if you don't have a smudge stick on you and you're hiding. Because by the time you figure out it's a demon, or a Deogen, if you don't have a smudge stick on you, when it's getting closer and closer to you, you're probably going to get trapped in whatever closet or locker you're hiding in, because you think it's just a regular ghost, and then you can't leave your hiding spot, because the second you step out of your hiding spot, you're dead. Because the whole time it's outside your door, just like glitching into your hiding spot. So the easiest way to figure out it's a Deogen is the Deogen, no matter where it is on the map, when it's the furthest away from you, is when it's the fastest. And when it gets towards you and enters your detection area, it'll slow down to the slowest speed in the entire game, as you can see right here. Thays, on the other hand, Thays are perhaps, it's the second fastest ghost in the game behind Moroi. What gave the Moroi the big buff is that it can also increase speed with line of sight, even when it's already fast, but the Thaye cannot. The Thaye and the Moroi are kind of hard to distinguish between. That's why the best way to find out if it's a Moroi is through the smudge timer. Because if you smudge a Thaye, the Thaye is only stunned for 5 seconds, whereas a Moroi is stunned for 7.5 seconds. So a Thaye, the easiest way to distinguish a Thaye is the Thays get older as the game goes on, and the closer you are to the Thaye. So what I would recommend is, as soon as you enter the map, you want to hide. And when you're hiding and you hear that it's a fast ghost, well, you know it's either a Hantu, a Moroi, a Thaye. To distinguish that it's not a Hantu, when it steps out of its break room or goes far from where it spawned and it's still fast, you know it's not a Hantu, unless it's snowing outside or you're playing on a map where you didn't turn the breaker on. You didn't start with the breaker on. So that's left you with Moroi or Thaye. And then what you want to do is, as soon as that hunt ends, enter the ghost room with crucifixes and just stay in a locker or a closet or whatever and just let the crucifixes burn up. And then as soon as those crucifixes are done and it can start hunting again, if you're hiding in the closet or a locker or whatnot and it starts the next hunt and it's slower, then that means the Thaye has aged. And the more you hang around in the ghost room with the Thaye, the Thaye will get slower and slower and slower. And I actually have a clip of that aging from the Thaye right here. As you can see, the first hunt of us being in the map, the Thaye was at its fastest. And then I actually hung out with the Thaye in the ghost room for probably a few minutes, and then we retested it, and the Thaye actually slowed down a bit. It wasn't at its slowest stage, but it actually slowed down a bit. I would probably say about 50% speed. So then, after that hunt, we hung out in the ghost room with it a little bit longer for a few minutes, and then we tested it again, and the Thaye was at its slowest speed. So now that we know all 24 ghosts and their characteristics, we're now going to finish this game, and I'll show you what your contracts is going to look like in real time. So, to start off, we're going to have our flashlight, and we're going to go in with 2 smudge sticks. This is how I usually start. And what you're going to want to do is, I usually turn these first 2 lights on, and then I'll hide in the first closet and turn my flashlight off. And it sounds like it spawned in the basement. And it's a fast ghost. So we know it's a fast ghost. Alright, hunt's over. So now we can go back outside. So we know it's a fast ghost, so it can't be a spirit, because spirits aren't fast. Wraiths aren't fast, phantoms aren't fast, poltergeists aren't fast, banshees aren't fast. Jinn is only fast if it sees you from afar, so that can't be it. It's not a mare. A rev starts off slow when it doesn't see you, so it's not a rev. It's not a shade, it's not a demon, Yurei, Oni, Yokai. We started with the breaker on, and it's fast when it's not in the basement, so it's not a Hantu. It's not a Goryo, because a Goryo's regular speed. It's not a Myling, it's not an Onryo. It sounded a little too fast to be the twins, so it's not the twins. We didn't have any electronics in the house yet, so it's not a Raiju. It's not an Obake, because it's fast. It could be a mimic. We got to go down there and check with our camera. And it's not a Deogen, because a Deogen would find us. So it's either a mimic, a Thaye, or a Moroi. So we got to do a mimic test first. So let's take our camera. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait for it to hunt again. Because in between hunts, like I said previously, you have 25 seconds. So at the end of this hunt, we're going to sprint downstairs in the basement and see if we can find orbs. Alright, hunt's over. We're gonna go see if we can see orbs real quick. And it doesn't look like we have orbs. Alrighty, so if it's not a mimic, our only two options are Thaye and Moroi. So we'll do a Moroi test. Now, I don't have any sanity pill restoration on, so the only way we can find out if it is a Moroi is if we smudge it and the smudge timer stun lasts longer than a regular ghost would. So, let's go ahead and smudge the ghost. Yeah, that's a Moroi. The Moroi was stunned for a lot longer than a regular ghost would be. So, it is in fact a Moroi. And if you want to go for a perfect game, you have to find the bone. You have to do the 3 optional objectives here. You have to get the ghost right, which we know it's a Moroi. And you have to do all of the media. So you have to get photos, you have to get all 3 videos, you have to get all sounds. So, to get a perfect game and to get max XP, is you need to do the objectives, get the ghost right, and get all of the media, and you'll have a perfect game.
Welcome back. There's some jobs ready for you.
So, I ended up dying this run, but if I didn't die, I could have easily gotten, with the anniversary event going on right now, I could have easily gotten like 10,000 XP or cash. So, do these no sanity, no evidence runs, and you'll get plenty of cash during this event going on, guys. If you like what you saw in this video, consider liking, subscribing, sharing with your friends, do all that kind of good stuff. It'll help me grow my content. And I appreciate you guys for sticking around. I hope you guys learned something today, and you know, come back to this video whenever you need help with no evidence. So with that being said, guys, that's it for me today. Peace.